The void, as a kid, I would have felt it. And the void for me is to feel unloved, is to feel unwanted. It's still here today.
I think the need to drink and drug and all that, it's to fill a big black hole. And you live with this big black hole. You don't, I didn't anyway, know it any other way.
It started out with looking for an escape from the pain in my life. Desperate loneliness and hopelessness I felt. It developed then into an addiction, and like any addiction, my sex addiction took over my life.
Well, I grew up in the north side of Cork. I was a very, lonely child, very unconfident, and when I was about 10 or 11 I met this boy. He used to smoke hash and drink a lot, and that's when I started really using, and that's when I started feeling liked. It gave me a lot of confidence as a child. When I started using first, it gave me the ability to go and talk to people, to even interact with my family.
I always felt an outsider. Even I have distinct memories of playing with other children and literally standing apart from them. I first got into alcohol at the age of 16. I had vodka because it was the only drink I had ever heard of, actually. Or it seemed that it was sophisticated to drink vodka and Coke. And I felt like I had a wonderful personality, and I felt beautiful and fascinating and happy, possibly for the first time in my life.
We didn't see much of my father. He was working a lot. My mother was a very angry woman. She was very intolerant. I felt emotionally neglected. I was clinging to her when she was doing the washing up at the sink, like any child, and I was being pushed away. As I grew up, I felt that I was a pest kind of thing. I'm not sure what age I was, 13 or 14 anyway. I discovered masturbation. I started using that because it felt good.
From there it went on to having to have drugs every day, to interact in society, to go to school even, if I didn't have, say, some tablets or some hash before I went to school when I was 13, I couldn't go, and to me, that's not a normal kid, that's an addict.
In the early years, I just loved partying, and anywhere drink was, and probably wouldn't go anywhere drink wasn't. And I put it down to the fact that I must be a party animal. It became more ugly, really. It became you needed it.
Hash wasn't good enough anymore. And I went and looked for something that would make me feel good again. So eventually that's how, I started using ecstasy. I didn't think that you could get addicted to hash. It wasn't so bad if you were taking E. The step was if you moved on to heroin, then you were a junkie, as I would have called it at that stage, and that was a no-no.
The buzz was gone. In the end, it controlled me, and when I wanted to stop, I couldn't stop. I began sexualising women. I felt sneaky looking out the window at the street for someone who would feed the addiction. When I went out drinking, I made sure I had enough money to pick up a prostitute as well. Half would go for drink and the rest on a prostitute. That was as important to me as drink was,
Basically, I would have done anything. Sleeping with men for drugs, dipping on the street, and it eventually got to a stage where I would have dealt drugs for the money from my habit.
I was frightened of feelings and deadened it with chemicals. My addictions always got in the way of my personal life. I put my chemical needs before anybody.
At that stage, I was in a long-term relationship. I was constantly harassing my partner for sex. I couldn't sleep with her if she didn't want to have sex. I tried to control the masturbation. I went for counselling.
I drank for 22 years, but I first realised I was in trouble with it About halfway through that, really, it dawned on me that I was overly fond of it. I justified it by, as I say, what I did for a living. I thought everybody drank like me.
The first time I knew I needed to get out was when I was 16. And I did get out until I was 19. I fought my grandfather and they committed me to St. Anne's. And I got into a treatment centre up in Dublin. And I stayed there until I was 19. I was just as emotionally insecure as when I was younger.
In the end, I could literally see myself going down a slippery slope into hell, as if I was watching somebody else. It's strange, this. And I knew that I had to pull her out.
I had one drink, and 20 minutes after that I was using heroin. Heroin was so nice, I had myself told, I can't be addicted to this, I never used it before. When I was using heroin up in Dublin and I was going through sickness and I beat up an old lady for her purse. I feel emotional now because that is one that I can't forgive myself for.
I was willing to try anything. So I went outside one day and I challenged God to show himself to me if he was there. But it didn't work like that. He didn't come down. I felt a sense of peace though, and a sense of being connected with life. That was the first time ever I felt that experience in my life.
I rang somebody I knew, an old friend who is in a self-help group. The advice he gave me was to ask me very simply, did I want to stop drinking and drugging? I said yes.
Well, I'm abstinent now. I've been to a few different fellowships to deal with it, and that has all been part of my experience in recovery. A lot of my shame has lifted. I get my bad days when I do feel down and feel low, but I feel a lot better about myself.
I hung on to sobriety for dear life. I couldn't or wouldn't go to even weddings, funerals, that first while.
First of all, I'd say recovery is hard, but it's a lot happier than waking up out of bed in the morning and going out to beat up some old woman so I can get a drug just to go back to bed.
Recovery is actually beautiful. And meeting me for the first time in my life, it's kind of coming out of a shell. It's just a feeling of all is well and all will be well.
Yeah, recovery to me is to be able to live. It's a feeling, it's a warmth.
To me, spirituality is enjoying the simple things in life, and in fact what I found is what I was looking for through drugs and drink my whole life. And it's real, it's not an illusion, it's real.
I really need my spirituality because it gives me hope, it gives me strength to believe that there's something better out there for me. You know, I reckon that I'm an addict through and through. I'd be addicted to a lot of other things like clothes, relationships. You know, I'd be addicted to, it's funny, I'm addicted to shoes.
I've tried to find that contentment through material possessions like a new car, holidays, relationships. All these things are only temporary, you know. I've gotten more satisfaction and contentment from that feeling of being connected and feeling well, spiritually.
Personally, I don't feel I'll ever be strong enough to walk away from recovery. I'll be recovering till the day I die, really. It's a way of life.
Through work in the spiritual program, I will be able to have sex in a committed relationship and with respect for partners and that.
What's really important to me about the recovery is the ability to be able to love myself. I deserve to have a job. You know, whereas when I was using, it was more, okay, well, I'm on drugs, she deserves to beat me. You know, I'm 13, I'm living in his house, he deserves to rape me. You know, whereas now I know that it was wrong. And in saying that, I still love the drug.
I don't think that there is much awareness out there about sex addiction. People might see the behaviour in other people. They might say, that fella is a womaniser. But I've learned that a lot of that is sex addiction.
You know, what they see is the needle hanging out of the arm, the kid dirty in the pram. They don't see, you know, how these people are feeling, how an addict lets themselves go through this torture.
The most important part of it is a sense of self, and I have a right to be here. I can take a compliment today.
Yeah, recovery, to me, it's to help me to be able to cope with just normal day living and to be able to live with some self-worth and some respect for the rest of the human race.
Well, my recovery has filled that hole I spoke of earlier. It's completely full with abundance.
The void, it's still here today. The difference is today is that I'm trying to fill it with self-confidence and with love.
If I thought that it had changed me, well, then I'd have to look at myself once more. I know how single-minded that I can be. My fortune's changed, and I'm no better than before. I said I'd fight to kill the pain. Today I know I'm stubborn and that I'm too